It's a warm afternoon on a busy city street in Mexico. Cars pass by, vendors shout in the distance, and people move through their day without paying much attention to anyone else. On a quiet corner, away from the noise, a lone man sits on a worn street bench. He's dressed simply, dark clothes, no flashy accessories, no signs of wealth or importance. To everyone passing by, he looks like just another ordinary man taking a moment to rest. That man is Steven Seagal. He sits calmly, his posture relaxed, eyes scanning the street with quiet awareness. There's no rush in him, no tension, just stillness. Most people walk past without a second glance, but not everyone. Across the street, a small group of men lean against a wall, laughing loudly and causing a scene. Their clothes are rough, their expressions careless. They watch people go by, sizing them up, looking for easy targets. When their eyes land on the man sitting alone on the bench, something about him catches their attention. He looks weak, one of them mutters. Easy money, another laughs. They don't know his name, they don't know his past, and they definitely don't know what he's capable of. Steven notices them from the corner of his eye. He senses the shift in energy immediately. But he doesn't react. He doesn't move. He simply remains seated, calm and composed, as if nothing around him matters. Years of discipline have taught him something most people never learn. Real strength doesn't announce itself. The men begin to walk closer, their footsteps slow and deliberate. Their laughter grows louder, more aggressive. A few nearby pedestrians feel the tension and start paying attention. Some slow down, others instinctively reach for their phones, sensing trouble. Steven stays seated. No fear, no panic, no aggression. Just quiet confidence. What these men don't realize is that they're not approaching an ordinary man on a bench. They're walking straight toward a legend, an Aikido master whose calm has been forged through decades of training and real-world experience. And in just a few moments, this quiet street corner is about to explode into chaos, one that will leave everyone watching stunned. Because the men who thought they found an easy target are about to instantly regret their move. The group of men stop just a few steps away from the bench. At first, they don't touch Steven. They circle him slowly, like predators testing their prey. One of them laughs loudly, deliberately trying to draw attention. Another spits on the ground near Steven's shoes. Their voices are filled with mockery, confidence, and the belief that they are in complete control. "Hey, old man," one of them sneers. "You lost or something." Steven doesn't respond. He doesn't look up. He doesn't react. He doesn't give them what they want. That silence irritates them. Most people would already be nervous, avoiding eye contact, shifting uncomfortably, standing up to leave. But Steven remains seated, his hands resting calmly on his thighs, his breathing slow and steady. It's the kind of calm that feels unnatural in a situation like this. One of the men steps closer, invading Steven's personal space. He waves a hand in front of Steven's face. "Are you deaf?" He laughs. Still nothing. The laughter grows louder, more aggressive. The men begin throwing insults, trying to provoke anger, fear, any reaction at all. They mistake Steven's calm for weakness. In their world, silence means submission. Around them, the street starts to notice. A woman walking past slows her pace, sensing danger. A shopkeeper glances out from his doorway. Two teenagers stop and pull out their phones, instinctively recording. Something about this situation feels off, like a storm quietly forming. Steven finally looks up. His eyes meet theirs, not with anger, not with fear, but with calm awareness. The sudden eye contact makes one of the men hesitate for just a second. There's something unsettling in Steven's gaze. It's not the look of a victim, but pride pushes the thought away. One of the thugs laughs it off and shoves the bench lightly with his foot. "Stand up," he says. "Let's see what you've got." Steven slowly exhales. He doesn't stand. He doesn't argue. He simply speaks. His voice low, controlled, and calm. "I don't want any trouble," he says. The words only fuel them. Oh, now he talks. Another thug mocks. "You hear that? He doesn't want trouble." They laugh again, louder than before. Steven's calm response doesn't match the image they've created in their minds. It confuses them. And confused men often become more dangerous. One of them steps behind the bench, cutting off Steven's space. Another positions himself to the side. They're boxing him in. The crowd grows thicker. More phones are raised. People whisper to each other, unsure whether to step in or stay back. Everyone feels it now. The tension hanging heavy in the air. If you're watching this right now, comment below which country and city you're watching from. The men don't notice the cameras. Or maybe they do, and don't care. They're enjoying the power too much. One of them leans in close, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "Wrong place to sit alone, old man." Steven tilts his head slightly, listening, not just to the man but to everything around him. Footsteps, breathing, distance, angles. Years of training are quietly calculating without effort. Still, he doesn't move. That's when one of the thugs makes a mistake. He reaches out and grabs Steven by the collar. The street seems to freeze. The laughter stops. The crowd gasps. The cameras zoom in. Steven looks down at the hand gripping his shirt, then slowly back up at the man holding him. His expression doesn't change, but something shifts. The calm deepens, becoming heavier, more dangerous. The men think they've crossed a line that will finally force fear. They're wrong. They've just crossed the line that will change everything. And the moment Steven decides to stand up, this situation is about to flip in a way none of them could have imagined. Because the man they thought was powerless has been in control the entire time. The moment the thug's hand grabs Steven by the collar, the entire street seems to hold its breath. No one speaks. No one moves. Even the men standing around suddenly feel it, that invisible shift in the air. What was supposed to be intimidation now feels like a mistake. Steven slowly looks down at the hand clutching his shirt, then back up at the man's face. His expression remains calm, almost emotionless. But there's something unmistakable behind his eyes. Control. Steven gently places his own hand over the thug's wrist. Not aggressively, not fast, just firm enough to make a point. "Let go," he says quietly. The words are simple, but they carry weight. The thug hesitates for just a second. Then pride kicks in. Instead of letting go, he tightens his grip and laughs nervously. "Or what?" he snaps, trying to save face in front of his friends. "You gonna cry for help?" The others chuckle, but it's forced now. Their laughter doesn't sound confident anymore. Something about the way Steven is handling this, so calm, so steady, is unsettling them. People in the crowd are fully focused now. Phones are held high. A man whispers, "This isn't going to end well." A woman pulls her child closer and steps back. Everyone senses that they're seconds away from something serious. Steven takes a slow breath. He stands up, not suddenly, not violently, just smoothly, like a door quietly closing. As he rises, the thug gripping his collar stumbles forward slightly, unprepared for the movement. Steven is suddenly taller, broader, more imposing than they expected. The bench scrapes softly against the pavement behind him. For the first time, doubt flashes across the thug's face. Steven doesn't strike. He doesn't shove. He simply rotates his wrist. Subtle, precise. The thug's grip breaks instantly, replaced by a sharp gasp of pain as his arm is redirected away from Steven's body. It's controlled, almost effortless. The thug stumbles back, clutching his wrist. "What the?" The crowd gasps. The other men step forward instinctively, adrenaline surging. One of them reaches toward Steven. Another clenches his fists. They're no longer teasing. This has turned into a challenge, and backing down now would mean humiliation. Steven raises one hand slightly, not in threat, but as a warning. "Walk away," he says. His voice is calm, but now it's unmistakably firm. This doesn't need to go any further. For a brief moment, it looks like they might listen. Then someone shouts, "Get him." The line is crossed. One thug lunges forward, swinging wildly. Steven steps aside with perfect timing, redirecting the attacker's momentum. The man stumbles past him, nearly falling. Another charges from the side. Steven pivots, maintaining balance and distance without panic. Everything Steven does is measured, defensive, efficient. No wasted movement. The crowd reacts in shock. Gasps turn into shouts. Phones shake as people try to keep up with what they're witnessing. This isn't a street fight. It's something else entirely. Be honest. At this moment, Would you have tried to run or stand your ground like Steven? Comment below. The men are realizing it now. This isn't an ordinary man. Every attempt to overpower him fails. Their aggression works against them. Steven uses their speed, their anger, their lack of control, turning it into imbalance, hesitation, and mistakes. One thug backs up, breathing hard. "Who is this guy?" he mutters. Fear is creeping in where arrogance once lived. Steven doesn't chase. He doesn't attack unnecessarily. He simply holds his ground, centered and alert, eyes tracking every movement. He's giving them a chance to stop, but panic makes people reckless. One of them steps forward again, and that's when everyone watching realizes the truth. These men didn't find a victim on a street bench. They found someone who has spent his entire life mastering control of his body, his mind, and this exact kind of moment. And the worst part for them, Steven Seagal is still holding back. The real regret hasn't even begun yet. For a brief moment, everything slows down. The noise of the street fades into the background. The passing cars, the distant voices, even the sound of people breathing. All that exists now is the space between Steven and the men standing in front of him. They hesitate, not because they've calmed down, but because doubt has finally entered their minds. The thug who stumbled earlier shakes his wrist, staring at Steven with wide eyes. "This guy's not normal," he mutters under his breath. But it's too late to turn back now. Pride won't allow it. Too many people are watching. Too many phones are recording. One of the men clenches his jaw. "Enough playing around," he growls. And then it happens. He charges. Not with strategy, not with control, just raw anger. Steven doesn't step back. He shifts in one smooth motion. He angles his body just enough for the attacker to miss. The man's momentum carries him forward, and Steven guides it, redirecting the force like water flowing around a rock. There's a sharp gasp as the attacker is suddenly off balance, his feet leaving the ground before he even understands what went wrong. The crowd erupts. Gasps, shouts, Simone yells. "Did you see that?" The attacker hits the pavement hard, not violently thrown, but firmly placed there, stunned and confused. He groans, trying to push himself up, only to realize the fight has been taken out of him. Silence follows. The remaining thugs freeze. They stare at their friend on the ground. Then back at Steven. This wasn't supposed to happen. Steven stands calmly, breathing evenly, his posture relaxed. He hasn't chased anyone. He hasn't raised his voice. He hasn't shown anger. And that's what makes it terrifying for them. One of the men takes a step back without realizing it. Another whispers, "Who is this guy?" Steven speaks again, his voice steady and clear. "I warned you." The words aren't threatening, they're factual. The crowd presses in closer now, drawn by disbelief. People who were just passing by minutes ago are fully invested. Some cheer quietly, others look on in shock. Everyone knows they're witnessing something rare, something real. One of the remaining thugs tries to regain control of the situation. He shouts, puffing out his chest, "You think you're tough? There's more of us." He rushes forward with a wild swing. Steven pivots. The movement is subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye. He steps inside the attack, closes the distance, and redirects the man's arm. The thug's own momentum betrays him. Within seconds, he's forced down, immobilized without excessive force. The man cries out, not in pain, but in panic. "Get off me." Steven releases him immediately and steps back. That's the moment everyone notices something important. Steven isn't trying to hurt them. He's trying to end this. The realization hits the remaining attackers hard. Their confidence collapses. What started as a show of dominance has turned into public humiliation. They came looking for an easy target, and instead they're being exposed in front of dozens of witnesses. One thug backs away completely now. "I'm out," he mutters, fear creeping into his voice. Another looks around desperately, realizing the crowd is no longer on their side. Every camera is pointed at them. Every mistake is being recorded. Steven remains still, watching them carefully. He's alert, but calm, ready, but not aggressive. That calm is the final blow, because it tells them something undeniable. He could keep going, but he doesn't need to. The street is silent, except for the sound of hurried breathing and murmured disbelief. Someone in the crowd finally says what everyone is thinking. Those guys messed with the wrong man. The thugs begin retreating, slowly at first, then faster. They help their injured friends to their feet, avoiding Steven's eyes as they back away. Steven doesn't follow. He doesn't taunt. He doesn't celebrate. He doesn't say another word. He simply watches until they're gone. And as the tension finally breaks, the crowd erupts, not in chaos, but in awe. Because they didn't just see a fight, they witnessed control overpower chaos, discipline defeat arrogance, and a quiet man on a street bench remind everyone what real strength looks like. And the most shocking part, Steven Seagal is still standing there, calm as ever, like nothing extraordinary just happened. But the story is far from over. The street doesn't return to normal. Not yet. Even though some of the thugs have backed away, the damage is already done. To their pride, their confidence, and their sense of control. They stand there awkwardly, breathing hard, unsure whether to leave completely or try one last time to save face. That hesitation proves costly. One of the men, younger than the others and fueled by embarrassment, clenches his fists. His friends are retreating, the crowd is staring, and the cameras are still rolling. In his mind, walking away feels worse than losing. He shouts, "This isn't over," and charges again. The crowd gasps. Steven reacts instantly, not with panic, not with rage, but with precision. He steps forward this time, closing the distance before the attacker can build momentum. A quick redirection, a shift of balance, and the man finds himself face down on the pavement, immobilized before he even understands how he got there. Steven kneels beside him, not violently, not triumphantly. "Enough," he says quietly. The word lands harder than any punch. The remaining thugs freeze. This isn't dominance through brutality, it's dominance through control. The man on the ground struggles for a second, then stops. He realizes resistance is pointless. Steven releases him immediately and stands back up, giving him space to crawl away. That's when it finally sinks in. Every single one of them now understands the truth. They never had a chance. The confidence they walked in with is gone, replaced by fear and humiliation. Their shoulders slump. Their eyes avoid Steven's. One of them whispers, "Let's go now." They start helping each other up, brushing dust off their clothes, checking injuries, avoiding the cameras. The crowd murmurs, some people shaking their heads, others openly mocking the attackers. "You picked the wrong guy," someone says loudly. Steven doesn't respond. He steps back toward the bench. But he doesn't sit down yet. He scans the area calmly, ensuring no one else rushes in. His breathing remains steady, his posture relaxed. A woman in the crowd speaks up. "Are you okay?" Steven nods politely. "I'm fine, thank you." The contrast is striking. Moments ago, chaos ruled the street. Now the man at the center of it all is speaking softly, respectfully, like nothing extraordinary just happened. The thugs finally turn to leave. But before they disappear into the crowd, one of them looks back. Their eyes meet Steven's. There's no anger there. No threat. No victory. Just calm. And somehow, that's worse. Because it means Steven didn't need to prove anything. As the attackers limp away, the crowd breaks into applause. Not loud at first, but growing. Some people cheer. Others simply nod in quiet respect. Phones remain raised, capturing the aftermath. The disbelief. The realization that they just witnessed something rare. Someone says, "That guy's a professional." Another adds, "No normal person moves like that." Steven finally sits back down on the bench. He exhales slowly, adjusts his jacket, and looks down the street as if waiting for life to resume. To him, the moment is already over. The lesson has been delivered. There's no need for more, but for everyone else. This moment is just beginning. The video clips are already being shared, messages are being sent, comments are exploding online, people are asking the same question again and again. "Who is that guy?" A young man approaches cautiously. "Sir, are you, famous or something?" Steven gives a small, polite smile. "No," he says, "just passing through." The answer only deepens the mystery. Because the truth is, the men who attacked him didn't just regret their move physically. They regretted it publicly, emotionally, and permanently. They came looking for dominance, and walked away with a lesson they'll never forget. And as the crowd slowly disperses and the street returns to its usual rhythm, one thing is clear to everyone who witnessed it. They didn't just see a fight. They saw restraint defeat arrogance, discipline defeat chaos, and a quiet man remind the world that true power doesn't need to shout. And the final regret for those men: they messed with Steven Seagal, and lived to remember it. For a moment, it seems like everything is finally over. The thugs are gone. The tension has faded. Steven sits quietly on the bench again, just another man blending back into the street. Cars pass. Voices return. Life begins to move on. But the crowd doesn't. People remain standing, whispering among themselves, replaying what they just witnessed in their minds. Phones are still raised. Some are already scrolling, replaying the footage they just recorded. Others are staring at Steven, trying to make sense of him. Did you see how calm he was? That wasn't street fighting. That was professional. A middle-aged man steps closer, squinting at Steven's face. His expression slowly changes, from curiosity to shock. "Wait," he says quietly. "That's Steven Seagal." The words barely leave his mouth before another person reacts. "What? No way. Look again." "Yeah, that's him." A ripple moves through the crowd. People start pulling up photos on their phones, side-by-side comparisons, movie clips, interviews. The realization spreads fast like electricity. That's the martial arts guy from the movies. He's a real Aikido master. He's been training his whole life. Steven hears the murmurs but doesn't react. He doesn't confirm it. He doesn't deny it. He simply sits there calm as ever, as if his name doesn't matter. That's when a police officer approaches. Simonon must have called it in. The officer looks around at the crowd, then at Steven, then back at the phones being held up. "What happened here?" he asks. Several people speak at once, pointing down the street where the thugs fled. They attacked him. He tried to walk away. They started it. The officer turns to Steven. "Sir, are you okay?" Steven stands up slowly. "I'm fine," he says respectfully. "I didn't want any trouble." The officer studies him for a moment, then glances at a phone someone is holding up beside him. His eyes widen slightly. "Steven Seagal." Steven pauses for half a second, then nods politely. "Yes." The reaction is instant. The officer straightens up. The tone changes. Respect replaces authority. "Sir, I apologize for what happened. We'll take care of this." The crowd buzzes. That's the moment the full weight of it hits. Those men didn't just attack a random stranger. They didn't just pick the wrong guy. They attacked someone known worldwide for discipline, restraint, and mastery. Be honest. Did you realize who he was before this moment? Comment yes or no below. Steven raises a hand slightly. "They're already gone," he says calmly. "I don't want this to become something bigger than it needs to be." The officer nods, clearly impressed. That humility shocks the crowd even more than the fight. Steven doesn't demand arrests. He doesn't seek revenge. He doesn't use his fame as leverage. Instead, he turns to the people watching. "I think we've all had enough excitement for one day," he says quietly. "Let's just respect each other and move on." No lecture, no ego. Just a message. The crowd breaks into applause. Not loud, not chaotic, but genuine. People nod in agreement, some smile. Others look emotional. A few lower their phones, realizing they captured something more meaningful than a fight. Simonon calls out, "Much respect." Steven nods once in acknowledgement. The officer steps aside, allowing Steven space. "You're free to go, sir." Steven picks up his jacket, gives the crowd one last calm look, and begins walking down the street, alone. No bodyguards. No spotlight. No drama. Behind him, people keep talking. That guy could have seriously hurt them. But he didn't. That's real strength. And somewhere down the road, the men who attacked him are hearing the same name whispered again and again. Steven Seagal. The realization sinks in late, but painfully. They didn't just lose a fight. They embarrassed themselves in front of a crowd. They exposed their arrogance on camera, and they chose the worst possible person to test. As Steven disappears into the crowd, one thing becomes clear to everyone who witnessed it. The fight wasn't what mattered, the restraint did. And the regret those men feel now, it's only just beginning. By the time the sun begins to set, the story is already everywhere. Short clips from the street are uploaded within minutes. First to local group chats, then to social media pages, then to major platforms where millions begin to watch, rewind, and share the same unbelievable moment. Headlines appear fast. Street thugs attack the wrong man. Steven Seagal shows real-life martial arts restraint. Calm defeats chaos in viral street encounter. People can't stop talking about it. Comment sections explode with reactions from around the world. Some are shocked, some are inspired. Many are replaying the moment Steven calmly stood up, unafraid, controlled, unstoppable without being cruel. He could have destroyed them, one comment reads. But he didn't, another replies. That's real power. The video spreads across countries, languages, and cultures. Fighters, martial artists, and self-defense experts break down the footage frame by frame, praising Steven's balance, timing, and discipline. They all agree on one thing. This wasn't about winning a fight. It was about ending one. Meanwhile, the men who started it are facing a very different reality. Their faces are visible, their actions undeniable. Friends recognize them, neighbors whisper. Employers ask questions. The shame follows them everywhere. What started as a moment of arrogance has turned into a permanent reminder, one they can't erase. They wanted attention. They got it. But not the kind they expected. Steven, on the other hand, disappears from the spotlight just as quietly as he entered it. No interviews, no dramatic statements, no victory laps. When asked about the incident later, he offers only a short response. I was just defending myself. Violence should always be the last option. That answer alone earns even more respect, because in a world obsessed with domination and ego, Steven chose restraint. The story becomes more than a viral clip. It becomes a lesson shared in gyms, schools, and conversations everywhere. Parents show it to their kids. Instructors use it to teach discipline. Viewers walk away with the same thought: never judge someone by appearance. Never mistake calm for weakness. And never look for trouble where you don't belong. Steven Seagal didn't win that day by throwing punches. He won by staying in control. And the men who attacked him, they'll remember that bench, that moment, and that regret for the rest of their lives. If you believe real strength is staying calm under pressure, type respect in the comments and subscribe for more powerful stories like this.